All right, so it's September 3rd and it's a little bit after 9 p.m. I've had a 11-hour workday. I have a 45-minute commute, and I'm coming home after my busy workday to create this video. I watched Stephen Bartlett 2 days ago, September 1st, in Diary of a CEO and behind the scenes of Diary of a CEO. And he talked about going through this process where it was prepare, publish, and pay attention. And his challenge for this content creation was just go through this lap. And as you continue to go through this prepare, publish, and pay attention, as you look back over 90 days, if you do it consistently, you'll just see how quickly you refine, you grow, and you improve your content creation to build your brand. Now, I've been down this road of creating content here and there, but this really stuck with me because it's so true. Anything you do in life takes time, there's a journey, and you have to respect the process. So, I'm on day two. This is day two of creating content, and I'm just going through the process. And part of this process is trying to think about what do you want to talk about. And so, on my way home, I thought through what's a message where I can add value. And I wanted to lean into a personal subject, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate with. But when you're preparing to go through an interview and lean in on your experience, your skills, and your expertise to go into the interview and then basically sell yourself, right? How can you do this effectively? And the reason I chose this to talk about today to create content is because this is something personally that I'm going through as I am pursuing new opportunities and leadership positions with my current company. And so I thought, well, why not? There's no better opportunity to talk through my personal journey and something that I really feel like is valuable. And so right now, I'm going through the process of pursuing a new leadership position inside the company. And when you think about this process, it can be so challenging and difficult to do what you do in your current employment and figure out how do you now frame that in a way where you're adding value to the position that you're going for. It's easy to do what we do. It's really hard to talk about it and put it into a story format where you can capture your audience. And this is something that even I struggle with. And the reason why is because I have such an analytical brain and thought process, so much information where I can add value. But at the same time, it's difficult for me to create an environment in an interview where it's conversational and you leave it open for questions. And so I've been working really, really hard on preparing myself, practicing, and presenting for interview. So I wanted to talk about two things. Number one, what are a few steps you can take to boost your confidence as you prepare for an interview? And number two, how do you use a framework to help you through your thought process in interviewing? So I'm going to start by answering number one and sharing a story. 3 months ago, I went for a position, same position, different part of the company I work for. And although I have a lot of experience, a decade of customer service experience and leadership experience, I didn't do my homework. And so I stepped into this interview and I had a lot of other things going on, but I didn't boost my confidence by feeling prepared and getting to know the current leadership team. I thought putting in the application and having enough experience was going to be enough for me to lean on. And that was my first mistake for me personally. So what I did to prepare for this new position that I went for, or that I'm going for, is I took the time to put in the legwork to reach out to the current leaders that are currently in that position and set up time and ask them if I could have a conversation with them and ask them some questions, get to know them, build a relationship, and understand what they're looking for in a candidate. Now, this is extremely important because it's part of doing your homework. So, whether you're going for an internal position with the company you work for, or you're just doing research on the company that you want to apply for, doing your homework and understanding the values, the skills, the expertise, even the job description in itself will put you ahead of everyone else. So, using myself as an example, I reached out to the current management team and I said, hey, I would love to schedule some time and get to know the current dynamic, some challenges that you guys currently face, and what are you looking for in a top tier candidate to immediately step in and add value to your current leadership team. And by me taking these steps and putting in that effort and just approaching it with, I don't want to talk about myself first, I want to learn, it naturally did turn into they wanted to get to know more about me. But I just started with asking those questions. And that enabled me to take away 4 pillars that this leadership team was looking for, all from different perspectives. And so, number 1 was someone that's going to step in that has a balance of humility and humbleness with confidence. Number 2, someone that's going to step in and influence adoption of change at a quick pace, because our enterprise is ever evolving and changing, just like I think anyone can relate with. Number 3, someone that is going to invest in people and then performance. And number 4 was someone that has a solid foundation, fundamentals of framework, processes and procedures to drive performance. And so not only did I take these steps and I built wonderful relationships with these individuals, but now I did my homework and I had an entire playbook to go back with as I prepared for the actual interview. And instead of me just creating a library of examples that I wanted to speak to, I now had a library of examples that I could create to tailor and add value specific to the group that I was applying to be a part of as a peer. And so I knew that me putting in this legwork, not only did it build my confidence because I felt like I was already a part of this group in a way, but I also put in the legwork, and that just alone adds a token of confidence to that bucket. Now, secondly, is talking about the actual framework to answer questions in an interview format. And so there's a lot of different ones. There's SMART and there's SBO, and I'm sure there's others out there. I prefer SBO because it's simple, and the simpler the better. So situation, behavior, and outcome. Now, again, it's really easy for someone to sit here and say, hey, all you have to do is think about the situation. What are the behaviors and actions that you took? And what is the outcome that you were able to deliver? But it's a lot harder when you're preparing yourself. So what really helped me is number 1, prepare. I used ChatGPT and I fed it resources and project information, internal resources with my company that says this is the interview guide, these are our values in action, and I'm going to use the SBO format. So I equipped it with enough information so that way it was like my personal interview assistant, kind of guiding me through this process. Now that helped me not only talk with ChatGPT and go through, giving it different information to prepare myself, but it also gave me an entire library, personal assistant to help my development with my interview preparedness. Now, number 2, I had it help me create a cheat sheet. And what I realized going through SBO is I really struggle with thinking of a situation and then going for the behaviors and the actions and then the outcome. What really helped me, and I think that this is just a cheat sheet to an approach to prepare you for interviewing, is start backwards. So think of something that you're super proud of, that mic drop that you're excited to talk about, or that outcome where you achieved something really, truly great. And then when you think about the behaviors and the actions you took, it's a lot easier to speak to the steps that helped you achieve that because you already have the achievement itself. And then the situation is just cake at that point because you know exactly what the situation was if you know the behaviors and the outcome. And so that's exactly what I did. I used ChatGPT and I used paper and I wrote down as many outcomes that I was super proud of that again fits into the homework that I completed of those four pillars just by getting to know the leaders and the peer group that I was putting my application in for. So, give you two examples. I had an interview 3 months ago, same situation, but I sat there, they asked me the first question and I completely froze. Now fast forward to yesterday in my interview, and I went in and I created a presentation that has a library of examples that highlight my experience, my expertise, and my skills where I can add value and right fit myself as a top tier candidate specifically to the feedback that was provided to me from that current leadership group. And one of my favorite examples in my SBO was a question they asked about customer experience. And by me leveraging all of this prep, tools, and resources to prepare myself, I was able to go in there and confidently answer this question. So the question was somewhere around the lines of, Paul, tell me about a time where customer experience wasn't where you wanted it to be. What was the context and what steps did you take to improve the overall customer satisfaction and experience? And with my preparedness, not only was I able to answer that question, but I started off that question by making it conversational and said, hey, would you prefer an example that's relative to driving performance in customer experience? Or with this being a leadership position that I'm going for, where employees are my customer satisfaction and it's their customer experience, an example of how I drive customer experience within the frontline culture, because that directly relates to performance itself. And I saw the group look around at each other and smile and say, well, Paul, how about you choose? But I knew right then and there, again, building my confidence, I had multiple examples to speak to. And so that already put me in a really good space. So the one that I chose was, let me tell you about culture engagement and how I've taken steps in my previous experience as a leader, as well as how I would approach this with a new team because of the proven track record of me taking these steps to improve customer experience with the frontline and our employees, because I truly believe investing in people, one of those four pillars, is instrumental. And really, if we focus on that, then that naturally drives performance. And so my example was, when you think of culture, there's so many different intricacies of what culture is. It's not just pizza parties and everyone having fun. It's understanding what to spot to understand where the culture is and what culture looks like. I like to think of culture as if you had someone come in and observe or have a camera, that is what culture would be. Someone inspecting and observing what that looks like. So here's what I do. Number one, you have to understand how to spot the signals. Culture is a culture of performance, a culture of accountability, a culture of inclusion, a culture of attendance, and a culture of engagement, how everyone interacts with each other at all times. So first, you just have to understand what are the different aspects of culture. Number two, I love to take an approach of creating a space where I can do experience checks. And what I mean by this is my immediate responsibility when I step into this role is going to be coaching and developing our leaders. But it's important to stay connected with our frontline as well. And so I will create a space where I do experience checks with my frontline so that we have a healthy balance of both leaders and frontline. And I have the space to ask them how things are going, what is and isn't working, how their performance and development is as well. And that will keep me grounded and connected. The next thing that I will do is I will empower a culture club. There's so much things that go on with the industry or a community or an entire center when it comes to culture that not one person can manage it all. So empower a team to communicate, organize, and create awareness around it, and that alone will improve participation. Number 3 is having a healthy balance of professional with personal. And one of my favorite things to bring to the table when it comes to culture and customer experience is themed potlucks monthly. This gives a blended experience where individuals can bring a part of them, and you can also still keep it business related, but who doesn't love to come together around food? Another aspect is rewards and recognition. As a leader, you're constantly in and out, away from, you can be away from your team. And so creating a centralized hub where you're able to recognize and celebrate and praise in the moment whatever initiatives are going on right next to the manager's desk. So when you are present, you can be a part of and participate in what that looks like is really, really important. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. Now, by you taking these steps, naturally, what that does is it creates a culture of a competitive culture, a fun culture, and an inclusive culture, as well as it improves participation in all of the above: attendance, performance, culture. And those are the steps that I will take. So, giving you an example, the only way that I'm able to go through that framework, answer it, give you situation, behavior, outcome, do it confidently, and then tie it into, again, what was most important to the leaders that I would be working with, not just what I felt like was important, was all of that foundational, fundamental of getting to know the people that you want to work with, what it is that you will be doing, and then working your way backwards in the SBO format to add value. Here's to day 2. Thank you, Stephen Bartlett.